Hello, you beautiful gods and goddesses. This is Tawanda Van Celestial Earth Goddess, and today we're going to talk about how effective communication is very important. The reason I'm doing this video is because earlier today I was looking at a YouTube video of a person that I'm subscribed with, and he was talking about how he's heading for a divorce because of some issues that went on within his marriage. Now, one of the things that happened was his wife had said, because the wife is the one that is wanting to file for divorce, because she said that he was so obsessed with being a content creator on YouTube that she felt like she was neglected and he wasn't paying any attention to her. You know, the equivalent of you work so much that you can't manage work and quality time. Now, he didn't know this until she was saying she wanted a divorce. This happened a little before Thanksgiving, because he always talked about how he made the space safe to communicate, and how he would always communicate with her, and he would make sure that they had open communication, that there was no verbal abuse or abuse of any kind, and that she could openly speak to him. Well, obviously, issues from their past has affected their marriage, because he's even spoken about things that he's had a problem with, which is certain types of affection because of sexual abuse. And he was like, she has her own issues. Well, for her, the main problem was she didn't communicate to him how she was feeling, because regardless of how feminine or masculine a man appears, men tend to, if you have a more masculine ideology about yourself, you tend to not read between the lines. And that's even with me. When I'm in masculine mode, I don't read between the lines. You got to straight up tell me what the fuck you talking about. And I tell people that I'm pretty much as blunt as I can be, and I try to effectively communicate, and I understand whether from a feminine or a masculine standpoint, if I don't tell a person how I feel, how the fuck they gonna know, right? Well, with her, for instance, he said she asked him a question like, honey, why are you on your phone? And he was like, oh, I'm looking at the analytics. Because part of his reason for being on YouTube so much, along with the other stuff that he did, was so he could make sure everything was taken care of financially, just in case he got too sick to do so at some point. And maybe if he didn't make it type stuff. So that's what he was thinking. And instead of her, she's like, oh, okay. Instead of her telling him, well, I feel like you aren't paying me any attention. I feel neglected. You know, I need some quality time with you. If she would have simply said that, it probably could have made a big difference, and he would have realized what was wrong. Because usually guys, if they know what's wrong, if this is my standpoint and just common fucking sense, from what I can see with most guys, if they really love who they're with and they trying to make the marriage work, they will make sure whatever the problem is, okay, if this is the problem, well, let's do this to fix it. You know, when you in a healthy ego, when your ego is in a healthy place and all that good stuff. Well, with her, she didn't convey it. She didn't straight out tell him how she felt. And that's part of her issue. Part of her issue is she didn't know how to effectively communicate, hey, I'm feeling neglected. I don't feel like you love me. She knew he loved her, but she didn't feel like he loved her. So unless you actually tell a person how you really feel about something, how are they going to know? And this is not a male-female thing. It just so happens that in this situation, the female was the one that didn't effectively communicate. Because I've been in situations where the guy didn't effectively communicate. He would act like everything is fine, and it's obviously not fine, because behaviors are overtly changing. Like, it's very obvious. So it's like, okay, what's wrong? Because I noticed this, that, and the third is happening. And he would act like it's fine. And then later on, when he was ready to argue, that's when shit would come up, which is very ineffective communication, which is why I'm no longer in that relationship. Because you don't do that. Because communication can fuck anything up. Not just in personal relationships, but you know, just interacting with people on the street. Misunderstandings have caused a lot of deaths, a lot of unnecessary heartbreak, all that shit, because people refuse to get shit straight. And to me, particularly for your personal relationships, whether they be with an intimate partner, family, friends, whatever, if it's somebody you really care about, you're going to be willing to help them understand where you're coming from. And you're going to be open to see where they're coming from. Y'all don't have to agree, but at least y'all were civil and treated each other like human beings. And that's what it's all about in the name. And at the end of the day, I want to say 5 different things at once. So pardon me if it sounds like a little choppy, because, sometimes I'm thinking about 5 different things at once. But anyway, yeah, on the real, if you want your relationships to flourish, make sure you are effectively communicating with your partner. Or if you want your friendships to flourish, make sure y'all are effectively communicating. Because say, for instance, if something happened and you saw it from your point of view, it was one thing, but the reality was something totally different, and you just all of a sudden stop talking to people and you don't tell them why, and they're actually asking you what's wrong, what happened, and you don't say nothing. And then years later you find out that the shit you thought happened didn't even fucking happen. So a lot of y'all have ended great relationships, whether they be with a person or with your friend or with your family, because you misunderstood some shit. Or somebody ended some great relationships with you because they misunderstood some shit. That's why it's always good to speak to whomever you have an issue with, unless you just don't give a shit, then it don't matter. Because sometimes if I don't give a shit about a situation flourishing, I don't care how the fuck they felt. And that's just on some real shit. But yes, make sure you convey your feelings to other people, and make sure you make it open to where somebody could do the same for you. Now, you can't make them talk. Now, if you feel like somebody is choosing not to communicate with you, and no matter what you've done, they refuse to do it, then maybe that relationship ain't the healthiest and you need to get the fuck out. And that's on some real shit, because we talk real shit over here. But in that situation, it was very sad, because it seems like it could have been resolved if the wife just felt comfortable enough expressing herself. But she didn't. And like I said, it was not no blame game type thing. It was just personal stuff that got in the way of their great relationship, which happens to a lot of great relationships. So, it's a possibility once they get themselves together on a personal level, like therapy and whatever else they need, they could come back. Or, they could just be very, friendly co-parents to their 2 daughters. But in any case, no matter what, whether a situation has to end or you can bring it back together, just make sure the lines of communication are open, especially if it's with somebody you have to deal with, even on your job, especially on your job, because, you're there for a paycheck. You got bills to pay. So you definitely want to make sure communication is proper there, and just respect. It's just, at the end of the day, it also is about respect. If you respect somebody enough, the least you could do is be honest with them about whatever it is. And don't try to use how they respond to you as an excuse as to why you're not saying anything. Because then you just look like a liar and a bitch ass, and nobody wants to fuck with you. But with that being said, everybody, whoever you're with, if you care about them, make sure you effectively talk to them and y'all understand where each other is coming from. Make sure, and that also helps with understanding each other's love language, because people love differently. And if you're not loving them the way that they're able to receive love, it don't really matter. And the same thing goes for you. I'm sure you feel the same way. But as you can see, it's dark and you can't see me no damn more. So until next time, you beautiful gods and goddesses, I bid you adieu.